Okay, good afternoon. We'll get right into it. I see Public Works. We don't have Commissioner Rader today. He's been struggling with some back issues, so.
Gonna have to get him in an exercise program.
Yeah.
So good afternoon, Susan Eugenius, County Engineer, and I brought Tracy Jackson with us because we wanted to touch on private roads, transportation plan, and development review to get what you guys thought was next steps on private roads. We went ahead and adopted that short plat revision yesterday. So we wanted to know what your expectations were for staff moving forward.
Want me to start since
Yes.
I've been thinking about this a little bit. I think at one point in time, we had a document that BPAC pretty much signed off on. And then it went over to legal and we couldn't do anything in that. And Doug can probably correct me if I'm wrong or if you heard it different. But to do what we wanted in that document that most people were pretty happy with was going to take some ordinance change, some code change. And he still had concerns about your license to make sure that we didn't, have effects on that. So my thoughts, and we haven't had a BPAC meeting, I was going to run by it, is that document that was pretty much agreed upon at that one point in time, maybe the starting point, and then what it takes to work some of that through. Doug might have a better idea with those two ideas. Those two things that we know that it's going to take some ordinance and that we can't expect Susan to unreasonably put her license out there.
Your text on screen allowed.
If that's just my thoughts. So that if that's what you're kind of looking for.
I was looking for what the board's thoughts and from all of you guys of how we want it to move forward, because I felt like the last time we talked, it was let's get short plats done and then come back, which is what I did. I just kind of didn't do anything, put it on pause while we were taking care of the short plats and getting that taken care of. So Commissioner Farrell.
I wanted to move forward successfully.
I think that's a statement we all could
Okay,
agree.
so I guess, so what is on hold? What are we looking at to fix next?
So I don't recall what all was in the BPAC document versus, so I presented something to BPAC which was not, in their opinion, acceptable. They created a document that they felt would take care of all of their wants and needs. It then went to Doug, and Doug reprocessed it and said a lot of these things weren't possible without a lot of work. And so that's where we left it. Then we came up with the short plat idea as a short-term fix for the, or not a short-term fix, a fix for the smaller developments. And we move forward with that to come back and revisit how we're moving forward now. Is that a good synopsis, Tracy?
Parts of it, yes. I think we have the draft document of where BPAC left it and what their wants and desires were. I would have to be taking it back from Doug and seeing what we can do with it to satisfy some of the BPAC needs and then the legal needs, as well as Susan's. We're really looking at type C and type B roads at this point. Type A are county roads. And we've just taken the type D roads out. Those are short plats. Those are ours. So it would just be the C and the B roads at this point for the private road review and changes. Some of their wants were the design speeds and the curves. And so if that can be addressed, I think that's that's the bulk of.
But it just felt like that, everybody sat in there and said, okay, we can live with this. And we were going to move forward. And then it was pointed out to us that we can't, some of that can't happen without some code changes, that
Right.
it's a little more complicated than just saying, okay, let's adopt this. So I, in my mind, that would be the document to start with, and what can we do with this? How do we make the changes that keep Doug happy, that keep Susan's license happy, and those type of things, but still retain a lot of what everybody agreed to in there.
Okay. I was gonna throw,
Realizing it won't be a quick process. Anytime you start dealing with code, it's not a quick process. I get that, but
and if that's the direction the board can go, maybe we can get the PA's office to do the resolution like they helped us with on the short plats.
yeah.
I was gonna call a BPAC meeting in the middle of the two that we have scheduled for a week from Tuesday on the 15th. So,
Yeah,
and
maybe
just
make
give
sure
them an
everybody-
update on the short plat.
Yeah, we can tell them where we're at and make sure they're still, we're happy with that one direction. And I think I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. They were at one point in time. And just try to be real open and honest that we'll work through that. It's probably not everything's gonna come out just right in there because there's things we have to do with it, but I think we can get pretty close, if not spot on.
So how complicated is the process for us to change the code, or I guess how much of it do we need to change?
You know, that's a good question, Steve. I can't remember how much, it's been a while since Doug reviewed that, and I don't know how much was in there that he was having issues with. There was some stuff that didn't really line up exactly with RCW. I'd have to get an estimate on some of that. I don't recall.
Okay,
I think there's stuff that can be worked through.
Yeah,
so it's all stuff we can fix at the county level?
I believe so.
yeah.
Okay,
Then code changes, just take some time getting the language right, then public hearings and does it still run through planning commission is,
If it's by memo, no, it doesn't have to.
okay,
Because they are road standards, not,
yeah.
I think. You'd have to check with Doug on that one, but I don't think it does. Those are separate.
I thought there was things in that, whatever BPAC brought forward, that would require code changes.
Some of them would, depending on the subdivision. So that there's a bunch tied in, but it can be worked
So it's
through.
possible it could be a planning commission process and then
Yep.
they'll have a hearing, then it'll come to us and we'll have a hearing. So it's a little bit,
And it would have to hit
time.
all of the ordinances and changed at the same
Right.
time. Yeah.
that'd help a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay,
Well, Tracy will probably find it faster if she could like send it to me and Doug and we can get that going again. Because it's probably buried somewhere deep in my email. So did you want to do transportation plan next?
Sure.
So I know that there's been some discussions with updating the comp plan and potentially getting a transportation plan as part of that. And I kind of wanted to get a feeling from the board, if we went, what way you really want it to go. I've been trying to see what other jurisdictions have. I found a few online. Most counties do not seem to have posted online their transportation plans, but I've reached out to Lewis County, being our closest neighbor, to see what they have beyond their comp plan elements, to get that information. So I found Kitsap's, their transportation element is 12 pages, and the cities seem to be more, very robust 80-page transportation element of comp plans, and then like 60, 70 pages of what they call their transportation master plan. And those seem to be what are aimed, they come out of the elements in the transportation elements. So they're goals, objectives, and plans, but they lay out, in these cases, citywide plans of how they want their transportation system to develop. So that is a separate item from what's in their comp plan. So I don't have the time and I don't have staff that has the time to take on doing such an effort. So I'm looking for from the board of what you want. If we just want to go ahead and update it looks like we have 3 pages in our comp plan, or if we want a more robust update of the comp plan, or to go ahead and do a transportation master plan. That was a lot of information and very confusing. I'm sorry.
No. Everybody can speak for themselves, but when I look at these, I'd like it to be, I get the cities need to be, more detailed because they have developments going in and different things. The county is a little more general. I think it's, a general, I'd look at it as a 10,000 foot view is, you know, as time goes on, we expect some growth over here and what are going to be the main byways to work through those and just identify those. I don't, my personal opinion, and it's just my personal opinion, I try to stay out of the weeds as much as I could. I just, like I say, I'd take a 10,000 foot view of it and say, this is what it looks like down the road. We're not a GMA, so we don't have to worry about some of the stuff that the others do. And that would be what I would tell you.
And that's what, if the board agrees to do a transportation plan, I would say less restrictive and the most, I'd even say a 50,000 foot look.
Yeah.
Less is more. We are not GMA and I don't want to push us towards that.
Well, I was only gonna move up to 30,000.
Okay.
And see if you could cut that 3 pages in half.
He's even taking a higher look. There you go.
Yeah, just, yeah. 3 pages is 1.5 too many.
Yeah.
Make short and sweet.
And is that something Public Works can use their contracts for? That they can hire this out?
If they desire to do that, I have no issue with it.
Because timing will be
I know it's
a big
timing issue
element for
you.
us. Yeah, so we would have to have it like asked for and done before probably year end to incorporate it into the new comp plan. It does take them a while on their end too.
Yeah.
So 30,000 foot level, is that what you guys?
So some wide highlight marks up the map, like we think we need to put a road here and a road here in the future, and it's, you know, a
Yeah,
big swath.
We're showing growth in these areas and it may require some adjustment to get through here on this. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, maybe could be what if.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank you.
And then last week, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, I promised I'd bring this back with the progress I'd made on the Public Works.
Thank you.
How we're gonna be putting this out.
You want up here?
Well, it already looks better than the first draft.
Yes.
Some stuff have been peeled off, it looks like.
We have gotten
Yeah.
a few more things off the list. So the quick, easy look for you guys are the peach is what we're waiting on from somebody else. So Tracy sends me a list every week that they pull out of Acela on what are Public Works review items. And then I take that list and cross-check it with the last week's list, add and delete things. So this was based on the list that I received on Monday. And the 2 items that are in green, besides Whiskey Flats, are ones that have been completed since Monday. Then the peach are items that we are waiting on the developer. The kind of pink shade, those are like short plats and SEPAs, things that Public Works doesn't generally run through Acela, but because we're in the planning department, it shows up on our list. They run them through a different process. And so You'll see a couple of them say that it's SEPA, and I've looked at them and I wrote down no SEPA comments. If we had comments, I would have sent them along. So the items in white that are remaining are the items that are on Public Works to-do list. It looks like there's actually more than there are, because the first three and then one more of the white are all the same address. And then there's two of another address that we're working on. There are two private roads on our list that I'm hoping to knock at least one off every week. A lot of those ones up at the top of the list have been, were older ones, and I have someone else working on them so we can get them done, which you'll see in the comments column on the far right.
Well, appreciate it. I like it.
So moving forward, did you guys want me to bring this once a month, never again, email it to you?
I think if you bring it in once a month and we can just kind of keep on top of it, are you good with that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Okay.
It's a month's plan.
Yeah, we can make that like the first Wednesday of every month. I'll bring
Yeah,
the,
why don't we do
Table.
that?
okay.
And I know I believe we changed job description, or we did something in order to give you a little more help.
I'm
we do
having somebody else work on this list for me, but somebody who does, the woman in the office who does the residential and the manufactured home permits. She also does interagency reviews and will ping me on the SEPAs, to work. I'm working with her to develop a couple templates for some of the SEPAs so that she can just write them up like she does with stormwater permits, and I just review them. Oh,
Can review them.
yes.
Like it. Good.
So-
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I guess we'll turn it over to Sean and Mike now.
Afternoon, Commissioners.
Sir.
How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing well. Sean Riley, Public Works. So I got a couple items in front of you today. The first one here that Mike just handed out to you is a draft interlocal agreement with the Portland Metro. This would be the third iteration of this agreement. A little history on it. Back in 2017, there was the Eagle Creek fires across I-84.
Yeah.
Shut it down for a good amount of time. Portland Metro determined that they had an emergency case where they couldn't dispose of their trash. And so we helped them out in conjunction with other landfills around the area as well. And since then, we've had these contracts in place that allows them to haul to us during an emergency scenario for them. And that's usually when I-84 closes, either for fire, or ice, or other things like that. We don't see a lot of them coming through, but it's nice to have in their back pocket. It's a little bit more of a community item to work with other governments. In 23 and 24, this contract was not utilized. In 22, we had 17 trucks come through, 21 to 24. 2019 was another year of a lot of ice, and so we had 89 over a 3-month period. None in 18, and then of course 17 with the Eagle Creek fire, we had 134. So not a lot, but something to keep the community, and when their transfer stations back up, it's nice to help out.
Sure. And they're at the same rates that we charge anybody else that comes from out of town?
Yep, 100% there.
Yeah, okay.
And so if you're open to this, I'd like to move forward with them and have them sign this agreement and then get it back to you for your consideration at a Tuesday board meeting.
Works for me.
Great.
Thank you.
So you have a map in front of you. We, solid waste have recognized that landfill fires and fires around the landfill are significant risk. We have had landfill fires in the past, and we haven't had great notification of when we get a fire there, especially in the middle of the night. Luckily, sometimes people see them from across the lake or other times and other people call it in. We've been working on alternatives to get notification in place more large area, which is what we have in front of you today, and then additional on-site thermal cameras as well. So the one in front of you today is that we want to talk about is called Pano AI. It's a camera that's two cameras that are on top of a tower, which we have on site there at the landfill. If you notice on the map, there's dark blue and purple. So this is the same camera system that DNR uses for wildfires and detection of those.
Oh,
The blue camera, if we were to move forward with this on our side, would be the coverage of that secondary camera that we'd put in. The great thing about this product is once it detects the particles in the air, so anywhere where these cameras overlap, it will give you a latitude and longitude coordinates for anything. This is open to the fire departments as well. They have the ability to use it. It would help the landfill for anything going on site or around the site. You know, if there is a forest fire close by, we need to know that as well and get on site and start taking measures at that time.
who monitors this, Sean? Is it like hooked to 911 or anything like that, where they see it and then they call out to the fire?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it is first monitored by AI. From there, if there's an alert that comes out, it's monitored by a person, and then they may either directly contact the fire department or 911 at that time.
Okay.
Um,
And if it's overlapping, they can actually give them the exact coordinates where
Correct.
it's happening.
Yes, sir. Now, if it's just in the blue area, not overlapping with the purple, it'll give you a general area within a few hundred yards still. But with how far this camera covers all the Toutle Basin, we thought that might be a great thing for the community out there. But it does come with a cost.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe that.
The annual contract value would be $40,000 a year for 5 years, as they're proposing currently. As you know, sometimes when we do a fire, the cost to retarp or replace usually exceeds that.
Yeah. If you caught it early enough, you may make that up and not have to replace, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's not a given, but it's possible that some of that cost be covered by,
That's the intent.
yeah.
Yeah, in conjunction with this and our on-site thermal camera imagery, we think that'll cover a lot of our bases. We're still working on the thermal camera side, but we'll bring that to you in the future as well. We want to get as far along as we can to address these issues now.
You have, the other thing you have going on out there is there's a lot of development in that area, and I'd hate to have a fire and it spread to somebody else and be the cause of that. That would cause us some real problems probably.
Yeah, Mike Moss, Public Services Director. Yeah, this just, like Sean mentioned, that covers the landfill, but neighboring properties, Weyerhaeuser property, communities, Toutle Valley. It means it covers a lot of area and will do the call outs no matter what land it's on. It doesn't really care. So it's really helpful, I think, for that whole North County for us.
And Weyerhaeuser uses this on their properties right now.
So it's DNR right now.
DNR.
DNR uses it,
Okay,
but it still encompasses Weyerhaeuser property, correct?
gotcha. Okay.
And I think the last fire we had we lost tarps. How much was a tarp replacement?
It's about $80,000.
And this would be a landfill expense, I'm assuming, so it comes out of the operations of the landfill.
Correct.
So if it's AI monitoring it, as long as the internet's working, we're good.
Yeah. So as long as the internet, and it will have cellular uptick as well. So we have backdrop connections there too.
Okay.
Just want to check in with the
Yeah.
board on this before we go too much farther down the road with them. Make sure you're open to this. We can continue having discussions on it.
just to probably out in the weeds too much, but one of our last fires we had up there, that landfills have fires, but usually they're fairly small and they extinguish them fairly quickly right outside their equipment. But we had a gentleman on Shaffron Road using the restroom at 3 a.m. and saw a glow across the valley, and it happened to be the landfill fire. So
Oh,
he
really?
instantly called 911 and helped us out immensely. Got him up there a lot earlier than we would have because crews weren't showing up till 6 o'clock that morning. So it would have had another 3 hours of burning if that gentleman didn't see it. So I don't think we can always rely on that happening though.
Yeah.
Count your blessings.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like a move in the right direction to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Do we still have issues with, I mean, some of our fires aren't we battery disposal? Some of that stuff is what
Majority.
gives
Yeah.
us an issue, right?
Just gonna get worse.
100%.
Yeah. Cause everything comes with these lithium batteries anymore.
Sometimes you don't even know there's a battery in it.
Right. Yeah.
That and we get a few fires from boat and automobile flares. And once you've light a flare, as you know, it's hard to put a flare out. So they'll run
Yeah.
over a cap and bust the flare off and we have it burning. So
How often can you identify for sure what started it?
a lot, I mean, if we jump on it quickly, we'll know because we're putting it out right there. But yeah, when we have our larger fires, I wouldn't say large, but hundreds of feet, it's hard to maybe figure out exactly. The fire department's usually there with us to figure out maybe the source, but it usually comes back to the batteries.
Mhm. So we'll keep working on that and probably bring it back for you again here in the near future.
Okay.
And the last item on here, just curb boat launch parking. We talked about that on Monday. Such a quick email on that, but I just want to follow up with the board in a public meeting on that and see if they want to have any more discussions.
I was satisfied with that. And it,
Okay.
the person who's been in my hill was Councilman Hill from Kelso anyway, so he'll been here on most things, so.
Yeah,
I think most of the time it's probably just fine up there, right? And I mean,
It gets
I don't hear too much.
some of
well-
our staff use that quite a bit. It's a busy place. I would love to expand it. But we
Well,
don't
as
own
weather
it.
gets nicer, it's going to get more popular.
Yeah, that's true.
The issue is usually people parking incorrectly, like they may take 2 or 3 stalls up rather than
Well,
just one.
that's the thing is somebody hauls something in and they do it wrong.
Correct, yeah.
I mean, I've seen that in other places too. I don't know that that's unique to this one, but
Yeah, because there's only so many pull-through spots there with trailers, so, yeah.
yeah.
Get a truck and trailer taking up four spaces, gets a little irritating.
Yes, it is.
No, I appreciate you looking at that, but I think yeah.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Savannah Clement, Public Works. I just have on our facilities list an annex OPD move update. We are moving along there. Of course, drywall's done, painting's done, all of our electrical and network cables have been ran, and now we are building one internal wall, let's say a couple, it's one, and a door to secure the lobby from the rest of the office locations. And we anticipate that wall getting finished here in the next week or two, as well as the door install. And then next we'll be doing carpet and, which is great. And then also a customer service window. And I'm hoping that we'll have a move-in date very soon. I don't want to guesstimate today, but, I'm hoping to have that the next week or two, for the board.
Come on, wanted to write something down.
Let's say before June 1st. Is that reasonable? That gives this year.
Yeah.
No? Oh. Okay. But yeah, so we're also, Jason Thomas, the project coordinator, he's been working on trying to secure some window bids.
I was just gonna ask how that's coming along.
It's going to be expensive, very, very expensive. When you're moving up beyond the first floor, you're looking at, scaffolding costs. And then just the windows are old and they're in a brick building, and that also proves difficult for removal and install. So it won't be cheap. We might come back to the board with some options, and kind of being flexible in that way. So that should be coming soon as well. So more to come. Anything else on the annex before I move on? Okay. We also ordered panel systems. So also that used to be referred to as cubicles. We've been corrected. They're panel systems apparently. So panel systems are coming, a really long lead time on those unfortunately, but still hoping to meet that June deadline. CIP, and that's the capital and tenant improvement policy that we're going off of, and that was just recently revamped right after the board approved that policy. And we did a call for projects, and we had about 6 projects submitted to the committee. And so we'll be meeting on that, reviewing projects and going from there. The board's next involvement in that will be late summer, right before budget time, where you'll see the projects. We'll tell the board the ranking and, make recommendations and go from there. So the board will see those in a few months as well. And then aside from the new projects for CIP, we also have all the current approved projects going, multiple projects going on at the same time, and a majority of them at the Hall of Justice. So a lot of wallpaper removal, painting, new carpet, new cove base. We have a project that just is almost complete at Courthouse Square. If you have been there, and that's that little, it's a little house-like building next to the jail, if you're looking at the front of the jail on the left-hand side. We added a new glass vestibule in there, and it used to be just, you could walk into that space and walk around, anybody off the street. And so this provided some much-needed security to keep people in one location, and then grant the staff the ability to let them in and out remotely. So that was a good project that we got wrapped up. So a lot of good things happening. Most of them did occur at the Hall of Justice this time. We did receive a couple from juvenile for this next year's submission. So it seems like we've got some trends as far as where these projects are taking place. This year's Hall of Justice, I foresee juvenile being a focus and then moving from there. So a lot of these buildings that we know are facing some disrepair in some areas. So any questions on CIP? All right. Admin skylight. Broken skylight, we've talked to the board, we covered it up. I think Commissioner Farrell may have been here.
I was,
Okay.
didn't like it in the least.
Didn't like it. I heard that. I heard from Bailey too. Bailey
bet
may
you
not
did.
have liked it either.
I think you probably.
Yeah,
there's
it did.
probably- I don't think anybody liked it.
No. So if we cover it, which was not in favor, it will be expensive because of the engineering of what will now become more of a structure. And so that proved to be possibly more expensive than just replacing the glass. And because of the darkness and the possible electrical that we'll have to do to, make up for that, it was going to be more expensive. So we would like to move forward in replacing the glass, resealing it, and just getting a newer skylight system up there, if the board's in favor of that.
You're talking about
The entire thing.
the whole
Mhm.
thing instead of
Correct.
just the one panel, so it'll
Correct.
all be together?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw quite a few leaks in the corners.
Mhm.
You could tell by looking up there, those leaks
If
in
you
the
have one
wood.
panel out, as long as it's been there, you probably have other issues. too, right?
Exactly. I think one panel was 26,000 and the whole
27.
project was 44 if we want to replace all of them at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's above our threshold, so we'll be going and getting 3 bids anyway. So, but that was the initial number we got.
Well, I would think a newer version would probably also be a lot more conservation value and less heat
Yeah.
loss.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's sure that's true.
Maybe even something that gathers light better. Make it a dome so you can get more light in there.
Get some iridescent glass. No.
Yeah.
But whenever we start one of these projects, it started off as a piece of broken glass and now it's turned into, and it always kind of does in the facilities world. But we're going to take advantage of the scaffolding being up and repainting that area. And then just looking for opportunities to maybe make some improvements since we're up there and we're going. So.
Makes sense.
The other thing that you guys might see in the future, we're doing, the admin roof is up for replacement and we're working on those bid documents as well. So that will be hopefully going on. We're on a time crunch, but hopefully late summer, early fall. So. And that's all I have.
Keep our staff happy,
Hopefully.
or I'll send the calls to you.
I had one miscellaneous item, if I can find it here. I believe Commissioner Dolly and I are both were emailed from the PUD asking for a letter for, let's see where I put that there.
And
That's right.
we did that as BOCC did.
Okay.
Did one.
And so.
Are they asking one from you too?
For the, yeah, I-5 corridor electrical distribution
Yeah.
project. Yeah, and then I saw on the agenda for next week, Paul Hellenberg's letter back. So, okay. So you guys took care of that. I won't worry about it
Yeah,
on my side then.
PUD actually went out and met with Paul and tried to get, you know, what his concerns were. And I think from my understanding, they're good with everything.
Okay. I don't know if they were going after the same pot of money. It sounded like maybe
I don't
Paul was
think-
going for
I don't-
rural and they were going for the,
I think it is
Federal?
different. Yeah.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all we have unless you guys have some miscellaneous items or anybody, citizens? I guess I'll leave it up to
Yeah.
Commissioner Dahl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on up, Nick. Just make sure the light's on.
That green
Yeah,
light's
there you
on.
go.
Just, Nick Massey, I've been asked by Lower Columbia Contractor Association to be their covenant affairs, so you might see me here so often, but just a couple suggestions, what I heard today. The transportation plan, Susan's kind of been talking about this of what the big plan is for improving roads to, like she said, safety features to get over I-5 or whatever. I would be in favor of doing something at big picture like that. And that would also help us as the Building and Planning Advisory Council to see what the transportation plan is when we're dealing with private roads. Of course, if we're going to be building a private road that might be incorporated in the public road sometime, that would take account for us when we're building it too, that we want to build it to more public road standards, so you don't have to build it twice on there. I think that's be a good steward of our county to do that. So that would be my opinion too, why we want to see that big picture item. Yeah, BPAC, I think with this list that Susan's bringing every month to you and you guys are keeping on, that was one of our biggest deals with private roads was the admin time to get approvals back. And so now that we got some light shining on them, I think that should be a public document that developers could go on a website to look and see where their process is. And so they wouldn't even have to bother anybody. They could just say, you know, like they mentioned that the peach ones are open items waiting for somebody. If somebody from like me go in there and look and say, oh, they're waiting for that, that's just another reminder of me. But I think the transparency should be there for what those projects are doing. So it's just good communication so we can have that back and forth between people. That's just one of my suggestions, but I guess that's the only two, but I appreciate what you're doing with private roads. I think it'll be a good fix for what we got going, but and we look forward to meeting you at the meetings.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay. We can recess till 2:30 when we kick up with the other, okay? Or are you expecting anybody in? You want to just head, well, we have it advertised as 2:30, don't we? Okay. We better recess till 2:30 and then do it. Okay. Back from recess. Today we have Kathy in today and we're kind of going to a summary over the rural projects that we had come in. So I'll just turn it over to you.
Okay. Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. We had our applications come in for rural public facilities. And we have, I've prepared a summary of all of them. And I'll just go down the row. The first one is City of Castle Rock. And this is for an extension, water main extension. And this is the total project that they're beginning on is $959,000. And so they're seeking $550,000 from our rural public facilities funding. And that's about 57% of their project. And so as you can see, it provides jobs and they're anticipating a number of full-time positions from this, about 158 full-time positions. So they expect this project to be finished in November of 2026. And this is similar to our project that they submitted last year as well. So.
Well, last year we went down Huntington and crossed over the highway. This year, I happened to what we call Four Corners. They're on 411. They've taken it down to the right and ran it down to that housing development down there. And from what I understand, now this is taking it to the left and running it down 411, I would assume, towards Delameter and in that area, because there's some open field and I can see some development that would be coming in there.
What are those, the full-time jobs are figured on what? During construction?
It's figured on the businesses and the items that would be using this infrastructure. So that's how they came up with the jobs
I see, okay.
of the development that's
Yeah,
going to surround this.
they do have
area.
that concrete plant that's right there.
Yeah.
Kathy, off top of your head, what do we have available this year?
We'll have available about $3 million. We have a little over 1.6 in fund balance. And then we'll bring in a total of about $3 million for the entire year.
Okay,
So,
all this falls well within what we
yeah,
have
so the
available.
good news is all the projects submitted, we have sufficient funding. There's a couple of projects, and I'll explain those later, where they're asking for part of the money this year and part of the money next year.
Next year.
And so I included both of those, but, and then one project, they're asking for a 3-year contract so that we would fund them for 3 years in a row.
Yeah,
But we have sufficient funding available to cover all applications. The good news, all applications that were submitted, we have enough funds to cover all of them. So the next one, the next item is Cowlitz County Fire District number 5. And they're seeking funding to help assist them in paying for a structure for fire training facility. And so the total project's $85,000, and they're seeking $50,000 from the county. So it's about 59% of the total project. And this project would be finished in December of 2025. And this project would basically provide construction jobs during the project. Then the next item on here is City of Kalama. And this particular project is actually submitting, it's the same project they had last year that they submitted, but they've had increased cost in the total project. And so last year we funded $1 million of the project cost. This time they're asking for $500,000 to help cover those increased costs, partially, because part of it they'll be funding. So it's a little over $4 million project total. And they've also extended the date at which this will be finished to December of '27. And as you can see, it too has construction jobs. But they're anticipating a total 250 plus permanent full-time jobs because of the ability to have additional capacity in their water plant for businesses and residential. The next item is Port of Longview. And this is where they're asking to split the funding, 500,000 for 2025, and then 500,000 for 2026. And this has to do with their North Rail capacity addition. I looked at some of their literature. They have a very nice packet that they put in there. And their rail traffic has been increasing. So this is, I think, to address continuing those, the ability to serve their rail
Yeah.
service.
Do you know if they plan on coming in when we
I'm,
present?
yeah, I haven't asked anybody to come in yet. I wanted to make sure that, I do have a couple here, but formally, I hadn't asked anybody to come present. That would be next week, the 9th.
I don't disagree with what they're doing over there. I just know, the rail crossing bridge, when you get at the end of the airport, that thing's pretty old, and it seems to me it would limit capacity, what they could put through there, don't you think?
Yeah, I would certainly think so.
That would be just a question I'd like to
Okay.
explore. I'm sure they've looked at it, but
And that project is a total of a $4.5 million project, and they're asking for, over the course of 2 years, $1 million. So about 20, almost 25% of the project. The next item on the list is City of Longview. And they're wanting to, this is in their parks and recreation area. Their Minute Valley Pro Shop roof, they need a roof and siding replacement. Now, in this project, they're asking us to fund 100% of the project. And typically we see where most of the submissions, they're asking for partial funding. So they're asking for $450,000. It's a short-term project. It would be finished in October of 2025. The next item is our Cowlitz Economic Development Council. And we have historically provided funding. We're allowed to provide funding personnel cost for an economic development council. And so they have traditionally received $50,000. They're asking for $115,000, and they're asking for a 3-year commitment for that. So it'd be $115,000 this year, $115,000 in 2026, and $115,000 in 2027.
yeah. I know they used to come in yearly, and the last time in, we said, this is nonsense, at least gave them 2 years, and I don't disagree with the longer term either. I think they lost some DOC funding. Yeah, so we're trying to make up a little there, yeah, okay.
And then the next item is actually, I think, one project. This is Cowlitz County Fire District Number 2. And this is the Rose Valley Fire Station. And they've submitted in two pieces, one where they'd like to pay back have a loan for 100,000. And then secondly, a $200,000 grant. I'm recommending that administratively for $100,000 that we just give them the grant, the entire thing in a grant funding for 300,000 since we have enough sufficient funding to cover it.
Okay.
And that project would be finished in fall of 2026. Then the last item is, it doesn't really qualify for our rural public facility funding, the sales tax credit, but it does, we can award the project under our interest income. And we have sufficient interest income that's come in over the last few years. And so they're asking for a project to do a study on the use of dredge materials in Mount St. Helens sand. And they're anticipating that that project would be $121,000.
Do we expect them in?
Yes, they'll come in
Okay.
and present.
What's their goal?
Yeah, I was
To
just
study
thinking the
that.
same thing. I'd like to know where they're going with this, and you probably don't have the answers for it, but
Yeah,
as long as they're gonna come in. I know we sell some to Stordahl, and he uses it in some of their projects, but I think they have to mix it with stuff. I don't think by itself it's very useful, but I could be wrong.
hold on, let me see what their application had on it. No, I'll have to look at my paperwork. But yeah, I'll have them come in and speak to us. But
Okay.
it doesn't directly qualify for the rural public facilities, but we have in the past done feasibility studies using our interest income. So I
Okay.
think that's what that is.
You know, I would, and I appreciate some showing up today, but it'd be nice if we had everybody available next week, because I've been through it once. We have two new people, you know, it's just kind of nice to, Castle Rock can explain what they've used this for in the past. I mean,
Yeah.
this is 500,000, but we've done a lot of things out there, and I think City of Klamath and the ports could give us some of the history part of it too. I think this fund, I don't see anything on here that, you know, makes me grind my teeth or anything like that. I think it's important to sometimes understand the history, and we can see what it has done over time, so we know that we're doing the right things with it.
Yeah, I will, and I've put them all on notice when they receive their applications that they would be subject to presenting their presentation. So,
Yeah, not here to grill anybody. I just want to point it out, because I believe that these things have done good things over time, and I think we need to tell that story at times. And they're the best ones to tell that story.
mhm. Yep.
For clarification here, I have it in my calendar that the presentation is scheduled for the 16th,
Oh, the 16th,
not for next week.
the 16th, Kelly. Yeah,
April?
Spring break next week, I guess.
Yeah.
I would find it and know the
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the 6th. Let me see. Yep, April 16th. I was wrong.
Okay.
Next week is housing opportunities.
Oswald's in next week. Perfect. You guys have any issues showing up? You think that makes sense? You're all good with that? Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
that's it for rural public facilities.
Anything you wanted to add, Commissioner? Or you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Appreciate you putting this together. I appreciate people participating. Like I say, I don't see any heartburn stuff on here. I just, uh,
Did
Just
you
ta-
want, did you also want me to talk a little bit about we're going to start our conversations with the cities for the district court billing rates?
yeah. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Have you had a meeting?
No, tomorrow will be our first meeting with City of Kelso to discuss it. And I've got basically three different options. And I'll hand this out to you.
That you were gonna kind of chat with them about it? You know, this whole thing's gonna be gnashing of teeth, right? You get that? Okay.
I'll have a direction of where we want me to go. All three options that I'm outlined, are basically the phasing the increase in, not jumping all in one year to the full cost allocation. Option one is what y'all had requested for me to look at taking it in two parts. In 2026, half of the increase would be assessed, and in 2027, the other half. And to get us to the full rate of the 6170 for the infractions and 219.94 for the criminal cases. I did two additional options. One assumed that maybe there's a base that the county picks up, like 15% of total cost. And then after that, everything is allocated based upon the case numbers. And that too was a phased-in approach where you did basically, you wouldn't see an increase greater than 25% the first year, and then the rest would be picked up on the second year. And then option three was an approach to say, okay, if we had been doing CPI increases, because remember, they haven't changed since 2021. And so the CPI increases cumulative was about a 22% increase. And then thereafter, in the second year, we would get back up to the actual rate of the 6170 and the 219.94. So, but that one makes the second year jump quite a bit, a 39% and a 57%. So anyway, those were my three options to consider. And basically, under all three of them, you're going to see anywhere from a 30 or 40% increase to,
No, all three of them.
22.
It's kind of pick your poison.
yeah, all three
Yeah.
of them have a
My
significant
question,
increase.
you know, I've been thinking about this because I know it was gonna be fairly dramatic and the cities are gonna do. What's say the cities all did their own district court and the county, didn't this county have any expense? I mean, what's the expense of the county just running their own district court that we would pay no matter if cities were involved with us or
Right.
not? There has to be a base cost that we already have that we're gonna absorb no matter what we do.
Yeah, so you have your judge expense, of course, and then you have your administrative expense of your staff, and then they have some administrative cost of some software and things like that they maintain. So basically, but the majority of your expense is personnel.
Yeah,
And then I would assume that there's a certain base that you have to have no matter what. And then after that, I guess you grow number of judges based upon number of cases that you're handling. So,
that's what's hard for me to get a handle on is trying to decide what is the true cost to us for taking out on the cities. And I don't know how to quite get to that because I don't know what our base is if if they weren't even participating.
yeah. So out of 20,000 cases, caseload, about 70% of those caseloads are ours. They're not the cities, but there are actually our cost
Yeah,
of cases.
probably just dividing it up by the number of caseloads and divvying it out is probably as close as you're gonna get to equity.
Yeah,
Cause I don't know that we can separate out and show what we would pay anyways.
right.
Yeah. I'm just trying to anticipate some of the stuff you might, get hit with.
Yeah. Well, I think that Molly has looked at this and it is quite expensive if you had to do it yourself because you'd have to have, judge and personnel, clerks. And if you're really small, you're going to be paying for that judge, whether you have any cases going on or not.
And that's the flip side of the coin, right? Is if they did it themselves, they're gonna have some set costs. So even though these costs may show big, percentage increases, it may still be a good deal.
Mm-hmm.
70% of the cases are ours in, both categories, infractions and criminal.
Mm-hmm.
But if the question to me is, do I have a preference on your three? I think they all three get us to the goal we want to be at. So to me, it'd be kind of pick your poison, which
Right.
ones they feel they can live with.
Yeah, all three of them are phased over the 2-year approach.
Yeah. Should be interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. I certainly understand it and I get it. I hate have to, put that on them, but I get where we're at. I understand that. I don't know if that helps you at all. I think,
No, it's
Okay.
fine. I mean,
I-
I also, like I said, option 2, I was trying to assume that we had a base that we would at least pick up something. And then after that, allocate the cost.
Yeah.
But it's still, no matter what, it's still, is a significant increase over what they're currently paying.
Yeah.
So,
And then once we're up to well, I'll call it base, where we're covering the cost, then what are we thinking? Like a CPI every year?
well,
Or what-
no,
how we
from,
think- Or are we just thinking we're just gonna take total cost and we'll just divide that?
right, we're just going to take total cost and divide it by the number of
by
cases.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep. And that, the only problem with that is it could swing. If you have a year that you have low number of cases,
Right.
but yet we still have our cost, which are pretty, fixed in the personnel side, then they'll see an increase in the cost. But we're going to do it early enough so that they can build it into their budgets and we can notify them. So we're going to have all the information available in the summer, sometime around June, July, something like that.
It's
At least that way we'd never be more than a year behind, right?
Right.
yeah, which is much better than where we're at, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think we have to recognize you run the risk on some of the cities if the costs get too much. Do you make a decision? Well, I'm not going to prosecute this one because it's not worth it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you kind of have that, and I know it's a tough balance for them, but I do worry about that a little bit because then you hear, well, they're not even doing shoplifting. They're not even doing suspended license. Well, it's, and I could see that happening because the cost for them to do it.
Well, but do you shut down law and order and kill your principles for the sake of the dollar?
I don't believe you do, but
Yeah,
I,
that's a question they'd have to live with.
yeah, yeah,
Answer to their citizens.
yeah. I think you've tried to be fair in each one of these I'll tell you, I don't think they're gonna think any of them are fair. But,
Yeah.
you've given them options and how to get caught up, and I think that's reasonable.
Okay, we'll proceed. So we have Kelso set up and I think we have Longview. We may have Longview set up for next week. So.
Okay.
So I'm hoping in the next three to 4 weeks to get all of them finished and talk, discuss it and come up with the numbers so that they have them well in advance of preparing their budgets.
Kathy, who's all involved? It's just not you going with them, is it? You have
No, I think,
the courts and stuff with you?
yeah, I think Molly will participate, but,
Okay.
but we'll take the lead. My office will. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for today? I think we're good.
I got nothing.
Okay. We will.